I'm going to try to make this quick, but there's something else I think needs to be said here. As this society decays and crumbles, it's as if they want people to have no faith in any of the systems of it. So you can see how the guards were inept. They weren't there at all. They fell asleep. All the technology failed and they couldn't film it. No one saw anything. All systems broke down. It was a complete failure. A blind monkey with no hands could have done a better job. Like, when it's to that level and it's pushing it in everyone's face, there's a dehumanization angle there. It's meant to cause people to feel a learned helplessness. It is meant to put that out there. And it's a scapegoat ritual too. I mean, they drew this out for, months? It's not like everybody didn't already know the guy was horrible when he got that sweetheart deal 10 years ago or whatever. They did. But they brought him back and they put him in the forefront and they let everyone throw hate on him for like a month. What a horrible, awful, disgusting human being he is. And he is. He is. But then what? Oh, look, he was on suicide watch, but then he killed himself. He's a sacrificial scapegoat. There's a lot of people who are out there questioning right now if he's even freaking dead. Fair question. By now, everyone has been made thoroughly aware that there are other people involved in this. There's just no way this guy got to where he got and had access to the people he had access to and was sitting on the boards he was sitting on all by his little lonesome. But he has now been made the face of this. He's the representative of it. His face has been splashed all over everything everywhere for weeks and weeks now. He's the recognizable face of the evil for all intents and purposes. So now tell me if any of this sounds familiar to you. In ancient times, the accumulated misfortunes and sins of the whole people were sometimes laid upon a dying god, who is supposed to bear them away forever, leaving the people innocent and happy. It's the idea that it's possible to transfer the burden of pain and sorrow, guilt and sufferings, the bad and the evil, to a chosen person, who will then do all the quote-unquote suffering for it in lieu of the group. Once a moral purging has occurred in the form of ridding society of this polluted person who has now been infected with the morbid matter of everyone else involved, a ritualistic cleansing has taken place, a form of ceremonial purification. The way this is done repeatedly and has been for hundreds of years and continues to be done even today smacks of a religious belief for these people. It's a ritual, much akin to the cremation of care at Bohemian Grove. And they wouldn't keep doing it if they didn't think it worked or derive something from it. That's just basic. You don't do something over and over again if you don't believe in it and believe that it has an effect. And it's not as if we don't all know deep down that criminals are running the show. I mean, that's not really a surprise to the majority of everyone.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
I mean, just look at the Federal Reserve, okay? Power elites are committing crimes out in the open and rubbing it in everyone's face every single day. It's called the banking industry, just for starters. But there's something else that's going on here. They are actually splintering people's minds and imparting a double mind, a double think into everyone. The idea that a mind can hold two competing, contradictory thoughts or values and hold them equally. It's a cognitive dissonance that's being put into everyone's heads. Now, I'm just going to show you a few examples in this particular situation. This is not at all an exhaustive list. These are just the things that I noticed this particular time. But this happens every time something like this happens. And I think you'll get the idea if you just hear a couple of these. So just before Epstein was arrested in New York, arrested for the second time, you had yet another Disney starlet come out with a video where, despite the fact that she's 20 years old, she's made to look and sound like a little girl. She's sitting in an overtly pink bedroom, just like the one, by the way, in True Detective Season 3, which is an HBO show that has delved into and referenced elite child trafficking rings in depth for at least 3 seasons. And she's sitting in this little girl's pink bedroom, and it's filled with toys and stuffed animals. And of course, you have butterflies all over the wall because they always have to have that metamorphosis symbolism. But in this little girl's pink bedroom that she's hanging out in, there's also a neon outline of a naked woman, the likes of which you'd probably find in a strip club. And in one shot, she's even in a straitjacket in a room covered in black and white pictures of a child growing up from a baby, presumably her, and she's booty dancing with a bunch of middle-aged men in suits. And the song is called In My Bed, okay? And I don't really care what excuses people try to make for watching a video like this and pretending that it doesn't sexualize children, but that is what a video like this does. You have yet another Disney star, another Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Miley Cyrus, whose entire original fan base was small girls who grew up idolizing these people. And then they come of age and they flip, and they don't flip a little, they flip hard. And they take that fan base down a road of debauchery with them. And you see this again and again. And just to prove that point, 5 days after Epstein was arrested, Miley Cyrus came back out with a new claim now that virginity is a social construct now. Because everything's going to be a social construct now. Because if you can say something's a social construct, then you can tear it down. And that's the whole point. The moral fabric is being torn asunder. That's what's going on in our society. And it's happening faster and faster as we head towards this technological singularity that's supposed to change everybody. That's the point. It's a tearing down and a rebuilding. And that's what's going on. A few weeks after that, you had Alan Dershowitz come out, who's also totally implicated in all this, as far as I've seen, and he's defending his 1997 op-ed, suggesting that the age of consent should be lowered, which I don't even know how the guy can do it with a straight face. This is essentially a ploy to legally protect sick, perverted old men who would prey upon children under the guise of some kind of empowerment, because we're in a new modern society, so that's the way it should be, even though that makes no sense. It makes no sense psychologically. And he was even going to be in a mock trial that they were going to hold where he was going to defend biblical characters accused of kidnapping and child trafficking. That they had to cancel it, but that was something they were actually going to do. The fact that they were even going to do that at all and he was going to be a part of it is yet another one of these things. So then, 5 days after Epstein's supposed suicide, a new Seth Rogen movie comes out in theaters called Good Boys, which is just such over-the-top hypersexualization of small children in ways that just watching the trailer should make most people feel sick to their stomach if they have any opinion at all about Epstein and what he did and the circle that he represents and the things that he represents. If they have any of those feelings at all, that should make them sick. They should become ill to see that that's a movie that they would make and show in theaters in the modern society that we're living in. And yet what you had was a film that grossed $21 million opening weekend. It's the highest level of hypocrisy I can almost imagine. And people are talking about how funny it is. And, you know, the joke is actually on them. The joke is on society. This is how the Videodrome works.
The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena. The Videodrome. The television screen is the retina of the mind's eye. Therefore, the television screen is part of the physical structure of the brain. Therefore, whatever appears on the television screen emerges as raw experience for those who watch it.
So, while you have society mostly unknowingly or subconsciously participating in a global scapegoat ritual, the people are also simultaneously being offered to consume and accept the very value system they're supposedly outraged against. And the only difference that those people could even claim if they were faced with that, and it was pointed out to them, the only difference they could even claim is that one is real life and the other is Hollywood. But again, for all intents and purposes, in the world of the people whose religion is based around these kinds of mass rituals, this kind of sympathetic magic, an image or an idol is meant to stand in as the same thing. To them, it's not a difference. That's not a difference to them. So what they see is a society that actually welcomes and accepts and pays to become a part of the same kind of behavior they're supposedly outraging against. It's a sick joke. It really is. And people don't even realize they're participating. They're paying to participate in their own demise. They're paying to have their minds splintered in such a way. I mean, if that's not mind control, I don't know what is. Meanwhile, you have Teen Vogue. All summer we've seen out of Teen Vogue is things like how to have anal sex, how sex magic can help you manifest your best self. This is a magazine that's historically been read by 12-year-old girls. And that is the kind of information that is being promoted to these kids. This is the society. This is what is actually going on. And they're dangling the idea in front of everyone that they're actually going to do something about this. They're not doing anything about this. They're especially not going to do anything about it when society at large has just sent the message that they actually accept this kind of stuff by going to see a movie that does the kind of things that that movie did to those kids on screen for everyone as entertainment and laugh at it like it's hilarious. And the argument being made that it's different if I go watch this movie versus how I really feel in real life, that's a joke. You either have a value system or you don't. So society can act all day outraged and then turn around and spend $21 million to go watch a Hollywood movie that promotes the same exact thing. Do you see what I'm saying? It's sending a message of consent. That's what it does. There's no difference in the eyes of these people between an idol and the thing the idol represents. That's how idolatry works. So there's no difference to them. There's no difference to them between these two things. Do you see what I'm saying?